I just went to their Periscope, so we'll upload it to YouTube.
What are you calling it?
It's a dogs came up. What did I say? I thought I had a good one, but it's not it. At the battle hymnal. I titled it "At the Battle Hymnal: Alabama Film Review with Dog Out West and Dog Stats."
Nice.
Wish this was a celebration of getting over the hump, but while the dogs came up short, it shows some positives and negatives.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what you title it on Periscope.
Huh?
I said it doesn't really matter what you call it on Periscope. It's really
that's just what goes out on the Twitter from Chapel Bell Curve. I get
what you're saying.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go live. We are live. All right. So much for the open. Hey, guys. We are talking about the Alabama game from Saturday night. Wish it was a celebration, but it wasn't. Dogs came up short, and that final score wasn't great, but I still think there were some positives and some things that we can grow on and do. And if we can repeat those and improve on some of the mistakes, I think the Dogs can get back to Atlanta and maybe get a rematch with Alabama. I'm joined by my good friend Graham Coffey of Dog Out West, writer at dogsports.com, churning out tons of stuff there and here and all over the Twitter sphere. Graham.
Yes.
Let's talk.
Unfortunately, we got to talk about this. Well, I think there were some good things and I think there were some bad things. Obviously, the score was 41-24, but I don't think that really illustrates the fact that Georgia was definitely in this game until kind of the last quarter or so. But yeah, let's start with the good and talk a little bit about the running game. Do you want to look at clip 8?
Let's look at clip 8. Clip 8. Somewhere in here. I don't have clip 8. What happened to clip 8? Oh, man.
Let's look at clip 13.
13?
Yeah. And I think the thing that I want to illustrate and talk about here is that Georgia's offensive line was getting a push all night, especially in the run game. I thought they pass blocked pretty well, all things considered, especially for having dropped back 40 times. But in the run game, we were really forceful in getting a push and opening up good holes for the backs. I wish we had run it a little bit more. But I think big picture, right? If you go back to 2015 and the game in the rain in Sanford Stadium and the massacre that more or less ended Mark Richt's career at Georgia, it was really clear that day that Georgia did not have the athletes to compete with Alabama, and particularly they did not have them on the line of scrimmage. And if you go and look at this game from last Saturday night, the film is very different, and the offensive line really dominated at times. What do we got here?
I'm going to do clip 8, hopefully.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's play it.
It's not showing up on my deck. What the heck?
So we got Zamir White here, and it's basically just
hang on. I got a tech. It's not wanting to take this play.
It's on my screen.
I know you don't. For some reason, they don't have it here. This sucks. Hang on a second. Stay with us, guys.
All right. Well, while Josh is gone,
This is about how it went for us on Saturday night too.
yeah, this is kind of indicative of what was going on Saturday night. But are we good?
I got it.
Right,
Of course,
cool.
I got it. All right. Clip play 8. Awesome sauce.
Nice.
All right, here we go.
All right, so we got. I think this is a different run, but it's a good run either way.
This was clip 8.
No, clip 8 was that outside power, but it's okay. This is McIntosh coming up the middle, and it's an inside zone. Can you roll that back? Or
Yep.
maybe it's 13, whatever, it's fine. So inside zone, not split zone, no tight ends coming across the formation, but nice hole gets opened up on the inside. And I mean, if you look, Bama's close to the line here. Like they're in a good defense to stop the run, and we get to the second level and open up a good hole. And then McIntosh, because he was able to get to the second level without having to dodge anybody, and his O line did a great job. He had enough momentum to really run through that linebacker there and make a nice first down. And it's a good physical play. And I think going back to what we were just talking about a second ago, these plays never happened for Georgia against Alabama in the past because we did not have the physicality in the line of scrimmage to push Alabama around and really hit the hole with that kind of gusto. So it's encouraging to see.
You
Is
want
this?
to? I've got 8 queued up. So you want to go there?
Yeah, let's go there. We got our left tackle here. And this is actually a little bit of we got some pull action happening here. So yeah, Ben Cleveland is gonna come around on a pull, and so is Warren Erickson. And they really just do a great job of sealing that off. It's looks like an outside zone. It's kind of those guys pulling over. It looks kind of like a counter, like he was maybe supposed to come up the middle, but he basically just bounced it outside because Ben Cleveland had such a good block and sealed it off. And I mean, that was a good chunk, and we were getting those chunks really pretty much whenever we ran the ball for the most part. Let's move. Let's move on.
Well, can I just
Yeah,
kind of to your point? What I was saying was that I tweeted out and kind of wrote a story, for Bulldog Illustrated today, and let me see if I can pull up that stat media. Let's see here. 8. And you'll see that Georgia. That's not it. Daggone it. All right, we're hitting on all cylinders tonight, let me tell you. It's not there.
so let's move on. We can come back to that if you find it.
No, here it is. I'm sorry. This is it. Okay, so against, this shows us right here that 130 rushing plays for the first 3 games, 581 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. Against Alabama, we had 5.7 yards per carry, a 50% success rate, and an increase in explosiveness. Not a big increase, and certainly not an explosive running game, but we were much more effective running the ball. If you take out our sack yards, Georgia ran for 5.7 yards per carry and a 50% success rate, actually 54% through with the first 3 quarters. So, I mean, Georgia, I think we lament not running the ball, but we were running with effectiveness, explosiveness, success, and it was sustained. And I think we blinked a little bit. And I wish that we had possibly run it a little more.
Yeah,
Late
well,
in the game.
I think that we've talked more on this show about Todd Monken and his creative football mind than any other topic by far. And I have a lot of respect for his ability to scheme guys open and his his past record and his ability as a play caller. But to be frank, I do feel on a certain level like uh, he kind of cocked it up a little bit on Saturday night, and I say that because it was really clear once we hit a certain point in that game that Alabama's offense was having their way and they were creating explosive plays and they were making quick scores. And I think the best way for an opposing offense to combat that is ball control, running the football, taking lots of time off the clock, going on long drives, and keeping those guys on the bench and hopefully getting them to where they get out of a rhythm a little bit because they're not hitting the field every 3 to 5 minutes of real life time. And we didn't do that. And I think that I'm curious what's going on in the Butts-Mehre building this week as Kirby Smart and Monken and Dan Lanning and all these guys go back and watch this tape, because I think it's very obvious that there was a roadmap and there was a plan out there where Georgia could have won this football game. Talent wise, there's not a huge deficit. Alabama's wide receivers are incredibly elite. They are probably the best unit of anything in the country of any kind, offense or defense. But there are ways to play a football game where you neutralize that and minimize their ability to have an impact. And we kind of did the opposite. I felt like we sort of called this game like it was a mid-September Big 12 shootout back at Oklahoma State where
I
Monken
mean,
was in 2011.
my conspiracy theory is that he played Burton a lot. He played some of these young guys that he knows he's going to have to depend on late in the season. And he spread the ball around a lot on, with different running backs and stuff just to get them the experience and almost like, let's see what they can do. And, I'm not going to say he wants to lose, but, you know, I don't, my conspiracy theory is that, yeah, D-Rob and some of the veterans there didn't get the shot on Saturday night because he knew he needed these guys and he wanted to see what they're made of, and they got their heads handed to him a little bit on some level. And, whether it was in, the secondary got exposed or, our pass rush, which, with the front seven was so lauded coming into the game, and, they didn't get their job done either.
Yeah.
So maybe he just, it's possible that he just wants to teach him something, put some stuff on tape. It's kind of like, I was listening to Pete Thamel talking about, when they were scouting Cam Newton for the NFL draft. He said they had 7 plays of that his entire senior season that were applicable to what he could do in the NFL. 7 plays the entire season. And I only bring that up to say, putting these guys on tape versus, Vanderbilt or South Carolina or even, maybe Tennessee isn't great. He showed them this is the best. This is what you got to do to get better. So I think he can improve on that, and he's hopefully get another crack at Alabama come December.
Yeah, hopefully we get to see him again. Can we go back to the Kendall Milton run that you were looping there for a second?
Yeah, sure
Because
can.
and that's a nice split zone play. Darnell Washington is a beast. He is an incredible run blocker. But the thing that I really want to point out is that Alabama's linebackers suck. They are not good, just straight up. And Dylan Moses, like, look at him right there.
Yeah,
How
I mean what's he looking at?
I don't know. I mean, there's multiple plays on Saturday night where he just did not have his wits about him.
I mean,
And I
was he spying Bennett there on 2nd and 10? I
Mm,
mean,
yeah, I mean that would be the only logical thing, unless he just thought with the way that action was with Darnell coming on the block that was going to be an outside run or kind of a counter action bounced out to the left side there. But the bigger picture that I want to make is that like Georgia has the type of advantage that Alabama has at wide receiver over our defensive backs. Georgia has almost that much of an advantage between our running backs and Alabama's linebackers. And our offensive line is good enough to create those one-on-one situations between our running backs and the Alabama linebackers. And I think if we do get back to seeing Alabama in December in Atlanta, that there is just a ton of potential to be picked on there, and that's exciting.
Let's just look at this one great run on 1st and goal at the 10.
From
And
Zeus, yeah, and Zeus, I thought Zeus played just. There's Darnell in there again. He kind of blocks that guy with his ass. Actually, go back and look at that. He really he just kind of
checked him, yeah.
puts that love handle right into number 58 and creates just enough space. That's awesome. But this was probably, I know he didn't get a ton of carries, but I think this was Zamir White's best game that I've seen him play. His vision was way better this week than last week against Tennessee. He seemed to keep his eyes up and really find the holes and hit the holes well. And so I think there's a lot to be excited, especially in the running back core. Milton looked good. White looked good. James Cook, this was probably his best game ever. I think we have clip 18. That's a nice run by him.
I think we do.
Oh, it's all right. Do we have clip 51? Let's talk about some passing.
Some 51.
Yeah.
It's in 51, but I can put it on there real fast. I don't know what happened. All this prep work we did.
It's all right.
But we're moving stuff around right now.
If you want to throw something else up.
No, let's just take a quick sec.
All right.
There we go. 51. Coming right up. I'm sure we're going to get please leave us your comments on our on our video feed.
On our technical aptitude.
We're technically aptitude, but
51. Okay, 7 minutes to go in the third quarter. Little play action pass right there to Burton. This type of play was open all night. We hit Kieras on it at one point. These kind of level concepts here. I mean, this isn't really it's kind of levels. I mean, you got Washington going on a short crossing route underneath, and Jermaine's just sort of filling behind him, and Washington's occupying that linebacker, and it's an easy throw. It's almost behind him. But there's that play, and then do we have 56 as well? Did that make it? It's a long pass to Burton.
No.
Okay. Well,
no, we're getting it.
Well, I'll make my point while you pull that up, which is that I thought Jermaine Burton, there was a piece of good news in this game because Alabama, they seemed to really hone in on Kieras Jackson more than George Pickens, and that decision, I think, behooved them. I think it was the right move on their part by really focusing on shutting Jackson down. But the fact that our top two receivers pretty much got taken out of the ball game and we had guys running wide ass open all night is exciting. I think that's something that last year we did not have at all. We did not have, we barely really had a second option. We had Cager, and then Pickens kind of emerged later in the year, and Blaylock had some nice moments as the season went on. But, I think it's going to be a good sign. I think that's a good sign for things to come. And I think that, like, in general, all night long, this offense was just kind of a beat off. Like, every time that we did complete some of these long passes, it felt like, if the ball had been thrown a split second earlier or the route had been run a little bit better, maybe there's a lot of room for yards after the catch. And we just didn't quite. Like, I mean, if that ball is thrown a little bit further, it might be another 10 or 15 yards of running, depending on how fast Jermaine Burton takes off. It could even possibly be a touchdown. But I'm excited about the fact that plays are out there. Last year, when we watched this Georgia offense struggle, guys were just covered up all over the field, and Jake Fromm didn't have anywhere to throw the ball. And, Stetson Bennett had a tough night on Saturday night, especially in the second half, but there's plays to be had out there. And these guys are going to get in the film room and they're going to spend this week looking at it, and then they're going to spend the next 2 months thinking about it. And they're probably going to feel like they have something to prove if they do see Alabama again in December.
Well, I'm gonna play sort of what I think we all can agree is like sort of where the game was lost, and
Yeah.
it's late in the third quarter, and we're in Alabama territory, and let me see here. So it's 1st and 10 at the 25, right? James Cook has just had a 10-yard run up the middle, and we dial up a pass play on 1st and 10. No one's open. Bennett throws it away. 2nd and 10. We send Cook
So,
out, and nothing again. We force the
well,
ball over the top.
I know one thing I want to say though. Pop that clip back real quick. Like
2nd and
we
10.
went for yeah, that one right there. So like we went for Pickens on that go route, but like look at Kyrus Jackson. Look how
Yep.
much space he has over the middle right here. And I think
Yeah.
in general, all night long, like we went for the home run play when singles and doubles would have been enough to get us where we needed to go.
All right. Let's talk about 3rd and 10. Oh,
Boop.
game over.
Yeah.
But just before we go into this play, I just wanted to say that it's 3rd and 10. I'm sorry, it's 1st and 10. 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, down by 3. We had given up the lead, but we were still in the game. We had driven down, and play calling or whatever you want to say, what could have been done better is like we're there in that game, playing with offensive efficiency. Our defense is gas, but we had a good drive going. We can get back there. I mean, I really do feel like that that final score wasn't indicative of the team that Georgia can put out there against Alabama in December. All right, so 3rd and 10. Let's go. Let's do it. Do you want to talk about it anymore?
No, I mean I don't think we need to talk about it anymore. I mean, like it's a slightly overthrown ball. It's also a ball that, you
I
know,
mean, like
it, it, it hits him in the hands. So maybe something could have been done better by Burton. I also would say if that was an Alabama player that was a wide receiver and a Georgia player on defense, that might be pass interference because he's all over his back right before the ball gets there.
when I was
Probably.
when I was cutting it up, it looked to me like it looked clean. It looked like really good defense. Sure, they could have dropped a flag. I don't necessarily think that it was going to be called a lot of times. It was really good top level secondary play, and I mean, like you and I talking about it, that ball is delivered low. It's not picked off. It's hopefully a field goal try, but you know,
Yeah, and I think that Georgia allowed Alabama's offense to dictate their offense. And, we ran two consecutive nice, like explosive runs to get down to the 25-yard line there. If I recall correctly, we had a couple 10-yard runs on that drive. And then it was like, okay, let's take some end zone shots. And in reality, what would have been way more effective was to keep running the ball, maybe get down towards the end of the third quarter and then punch it in for a touchdown. And you're up heading to the fourth quarter. You've got all the momentum in the world. And you're looking at, probably a game where realistically, maybe whoever has the ball last wins or whoever converts their chances in the red zone wins. But I think you would take that going on the road against the number 2 team in the country probably most days, most years, anytime. I would
yeah.
take it.
I mean, I think that in years, like yes, they won by 17. We were not in the game in the fourth quarter, much past, certainly when we gave up that 10 extra touchdown, put them up 10, but it just feels like a different team. It does not feel like a team that's going to collapse. It feels like a team that's still growing on offense, and that I was bummed out on Saturday and I was mad. And looking at it, I feel a little better, just looking at it, statistically, analytically. I think our defense can improve, and I think our offense can improve. That's not to say that Alabama won't improve, but I think they're playing pretty optimal, and they're going to get better on defense. I would think, and I think we've seen the best they can do on offense, and we just whether it's match them toe for match them point for point or whatever we got to do. Obviously, we got to match them point for point. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if we got to play that game. I think we got to find our offense and play our game, and
Yeah.
then I loved the blitzing, but I think we gassed our defense a little bit. I think that Lanning will go back to the drawing board and figure out that and he was like like 8 of 13 on pressure passes with 2 touchdowns. I mean, it didn't affect him. We got to him and we hit him, and he was feeling it, and he was frustrated early in that game, but he got over it quick, and they just got rid of the ball quicker than we could get there on defense. So I think Lanning is going to figure that out too and come up with a different game plan. So there's a lot of tape that we can show these guys and that they can show these guys and hopefully improve.
Well, yeah, and I think that Mac Jones is a damn good quarterback, but B, like if you're Georgia and you're gonna blitz Mac Jones with that wide receiver core, especially if you're gonna blitz him in a way where Monty Rice is gonna be lined up on a guy like Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith or Mechie, you better get there.
You better get there.
Like you can't, yeah. Like if there's enough time for Waddle to get 30 yards downfield with a linebacker trailing him, then you have failed. And we failed a lot at our blitz packages on Saturday night. And like I know it's not the same. Alabama doesn't run an air raid, but it did kind of feel there at times a little bit like watching the LSU Mississippi State game this first weekend of the football season, where Bo Pelini just wanted to like bring the house and sit in man all day, and Mississippi State just kept hitting wide receivers in man coverage. And I think like next time around, I don't think Georgia needs to drop into a zone and just play prevent and try and keep everything in front of them all the time. That's not the Kirby Smart Georgia way of playing defense. But I think it'd be nice to see some more disguised coverages, like against Garantano last week against Tennessee. We saw a lot of times where guys faked like they were going to blitz and dropped out and into zone, and kind of worked as helpers and rovers and confused things. And I thought that like we made our defense really simple to read at a lot of junctions in that game on Saturday night.
I'm gonna do something dorky here and just put up my spreadsheet here. But
What?
because talking about our defense, here is the first 3 quarters of Georgia's run defense. Had 22 attempts, 36% success rate, and a 4.5 yards per carry, and a very average. Probably you want to be at least 0.10 EPA on that. I mean that we were containing the run, certainly not the pass, but we, as good as Najee Harris is, we contain that run. I mean, they ran it down our throat on entire defense in the fourth quarter to inflate these numbers a little bit, but we've got places that we can attack them and contain them on defense. We just got to get better on the places we didn't.
Yeah, totally. Well, yeah, 100%. Do we have clip 9 or 14 or even like 71?
I got 9 for sure.
No. Yeah, let's look at that real quick, just because I want to drive like one more point home. And this is going to be a batted ball, but I want to watch this slot receiver down here on the bottom side. Or I'm sorry, that's Pickens actually that's coming off the end of the line. Yeah, you'll see it right here. So if you keep playing it, he's going to be open on this post route. And
let's look at the overhead here.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, there you go. You got it. Or maybe that's Washington. That's Washington. I'm sorry.
Washington,
yeah. Washington is open on the post route, and
it looks like he's got the ball out on time too. I mean, he's throwing it here right as he makes the break. He's not open there, but he sees that he's gonna get open, and yeah, for sure, the ball gets batted.
Yeah, and I mean, like if you go to Karis Jackson had some balls that he dropped. If we look at clip 61, I know that was one that we had talked about, the the throw to Burton right after Alabama went up 34-24.
Yeah, this is the next play after the
Yeah.
interception.
I mean, this is a touchdown if that ball is a yard and a half shorter. If you go to
I
click
want to
7,
show this. I mean,
yeah,
people are saying he could have. I mean that. I mean that's
no,
not even that far off. I mean, it's a game of inches. I mean, he's so close to that. What's the next play you want to watch?
71. So here, like, I mean, the game is decided at this point, but just to drive the point home, watch James Cook come out of the backfield here when the ball is snapped, and watch nobody go with him because Dylan Moses is once again lost as hell. Um, and they, I mean, they end up passing off on coverage, but like with Cook's speed, if you get that ball there, maybe he makes a man miss, maybe not, but it's at least a 7 yard gain, if not a 15-yard gain or a touchdown. And I I think that this is what happens when you take a young team. So I know we don't like thinking of Georgia as a young team because we have this really experienced defense, but Georgia's offense is all brand new, and these guys are going to be around for a lot longer. I mean, everybody that's playing significant snaps at wide receiver right now returns next year. Um, most of the offensive linemen that are playing significant snaps right now return next year. All of these running backs return next year. And this is just one of those things where you go out there and you're close, but you're not quite close enough. But I mean, I think that there's a lot here for Georgia to build on. And if you're never going to hit all of your plays, right? Like this isn't a video game. And I get frustrated sometimes with like Twitter and the internet because I think people want Stetson Bennett or our wide receivers or our defenders or whoever to basically be robots and just like never miss a play. And that's just not how football works, right? But I think that if you hit maybe half of those plays or even a third of those plays, it's a totally different ball game. And I think on a good night, it's reasonable to expect Georgia could hit those plays.
Yeah, I
So
mean, if you just look at the numbers, we are 36 or 39% success rate passing, 54% on rushing. So we did what we needed to do in the ground game. So obviously, just to your point, you're not going to hit 100% of your passes. 100% of them are not going to be successful plays. But so where we got to get to, we don't need to get to 100. We need to get to 51, 52%, success rate on passing plays. So, you know, if it's Stetson Bennett or JT Daniels or DeJuan Mathis or Carson Beck, whoever it is that gets the next shot to beat these guys, it's like you've got to execute. You got to make those plays that you can make.
yeah,
Stetson Bennett's a smart guy. He throws the ball away, but obviously he blinked. He got under pressure. He got behind and forced three balls that or two balls in late in the second half that cost us a chance to win that game. I'm not going to say those two plays cost us the game because it was a team loss or whatever. But yeah, I mean, he would tell you that he talked about it in the post game. He's like he never throw against his body like that rolling out, but he was just trying to make a play.
yeah, and I mean, I think the other point here too is you don't really like. I feel like as a college football society, for lack of a better term, that because of LSU last year, everyone has kind of got this thing in their head where it's like, you know, you got to score 45 points to beat good teams. And like Georgia needed to score more points than they did on Saturday night. But I also think that if Georgia wants to beat an Alabama or, if they're so fortunate to play a Clemson or an Ohio State down the road, like they can't give up 41 points. I mean, they're just not quite built like that. I mean, like the Rose Bowl against Oklahoma a few years ago, a little bit of a different story because you're playing a Big 12 defense that's like a sieve. But I think back to that game, like that game plan, because Fromm threw the ball plenty in that game, but like the run was what everything worked off
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
And
The run was there when we needed it, and
yeah,
ended the
I
game
feel
and
like
stuff.
that's how you beat a high-powered offense if you're Georgia. Like that ball control style and the ability to run clock when you need to and when you want to is is the crucial factor.
All right, you good? Any more points we got to make tonight? Any more plays?
Let's look at this. No more plays, but I want to look at this call here and have a little brief rant, if you will allow me. So some of you guys follow me on Twitter. If you don't, you're probably smart. It's probably a dumb thing to do. But we I wrote an article late on Saturday night about 1 o'clock in the morning, fully sober for the record. That was an open letter to the Southeastern Conference about officiating in this game. And this play to me, I think, this play definitely, let me be clear, Alabama probably wins this game no matter, what calls happened or didn't happen because they played better. But plays like this, I do think really changed the game flow, changed the situation of the game. And it's frustrating because we've seen this before, right? Like you could argue some calls in 2018 probably cost us a national championship. I don't think that's a stretch to say. And generally when we play Alabama, we see Georgia get some unfavorable calls and we see some flags stay in pockets on some questionable things by Alabama. So I threw that out there. B, Alabama fans on Twitter and other parts of the internet seem to be very, very, very upset that anyone would imply that there's a possibility that in a game where the head official happens to live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, he may have found himself in a situation that caused him a conflict of interest. And I just want to say, like, just be happy you won, Alabama. Like, why are you guys so wrapped up in what I think about your football team? You guys won the football game. Tennessee was bitching about chop blocks last week. I thought that shit was hilarious. I didn't give a damn. That's their thing to do because we kicked their ass. You guys won the game. Don't worry about it. Don't put so much of your self-worth into everyone praising and hailing Lord Saban and the royal tide. I don't think it's
I
that.
mean, you were speaking from the heart, and you're speaking from a Georgia fan, and I think that what you said was felt by everybody, and I don't think you can look as a impartial or partial viewer and say, yeah, Alabama got the benefit of the doubt in those games, and it wasn't like if that looked like a normal officiated game where one team maybe got one or two calls, but it's like every single time it just seems like none of those flags go, and my buddy Gator Hater on the Twitter is talking about, before that game even kicked, the Auburn just seems to get the calls. It's just like, and the checks come out of Birmingham is it is what it is, and this is what we
True.
do. We talk trash, we talk stuff. So
People,
take your win, be a Bammer, and let's just have some fun. So anyway, I loved your article. I love all the stuff you do on dogsports.com.
well, I appreciate that, and
You should be following Dog Out West. I imagine if you're watching this, you're probably following Dog Out West on Twitter and Chapel Bell Curve on Twitter and dogs_stats.com on Twitter. There's no
and the
.com there.
Battle on Twitter, and Nathan J. Lawrence on Twitter.
Nathan J. Lawrence. So if you liked what you watched here, you should definitely consider being joining the Chapel Bell Curve Patreon. We get on there, we chat, we share stats. I'll even share my Excel files and some of these video cut ups. If you want to look at these plays on your own, or maybe even tweet them out or whatever, please go to Chapel Bell Patreon's /Chapel Bell Curve, I believe something like that, and also subscribe to the Chapel Bell Curve podcast wherever you get your podcast. Follow us all on Twitter and retweet our stuff because we're doing this for fun, but we want a lot of eyeballs on it. Anything else, Graham? Take us out of here.
Go read Josh's Dog Stats Advanced Stats blog on Bulldog Illustrated. It's very good, and don't give up the faith. Keep the hope. I know hope's a dangerous drug. As a Georgia sports fan, it has sent me to bad places very many times. But watching this tape, there is a lot of good out there. Georgia I'm not gonna go hot take and say Georgia's beating Alabama and Atlanta in December, but Georgia could beat Alabama in December, and that's
If
enough to get excited about.
and if not, in the words of UGA Nihilist, we all die.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed.
Yep. Eat Arby's.